Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Today we're tackling something that I think is pretty universal, finding focus.
Yeah, in a world, it's like we're swimming in distractions, right?
It really is, and we're diving into this topic with some help from Jake and Emma. They're the authors of this really insightful book we found, and we're going to be talking about everything from setting intentions to managing our digital lives, which, let's be honest, our phones are probably public enemy number one when it comes to distraction.
Oh, absolutely. The biggest culprit.
So if you're like me and always looking for ways to kind of maximize your productivity and absorb information, these strategies are going to be super valuable.
For sure.
So should we just jump right in?
Yeah, let's dive in.
All right, so Jake and Emma start off by really emphasizing the importance of starting your day with a clear intention. And they say it's not just about making a to-do list, right? It's really about setting a mindset.
It's about being proactive with your attention instead of just kind of letting it get pulled in whatever direction,
Yeah, and there's a psychological phenomenon at play here, and I'm curious if you can explain it a little. It's called the Zygarnik effect. Have you ever heard of this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What is it all about?
Well, it's like that thing where, you have that task that you haven't quite finished yet, and it just keeps like nagging at you in the back of your mind.
Like it's almost like stuck there. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the Zygarnik effect in action.
Okay, interesting.
Our brains are really good at remembering these things we haven't completed yet.
So how can we kind of harness this effect to actually work for us when we're trying to focus?
Well, the cool thing is, by setting these clear intentions, we can actually use this to our advantage.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's like you're giving your brain a direction, right, so it knows what it needs to focus on.
So almost like a roadmap of where to go.
Exactly. And then it can kind of let go of those other nagging thoughts.
That makes a lot of sense because I know for me, like if I don't have a clear plan for my day, I just feel like I'm constantly reacting to things instead of being proactive.
Absolutely. And you end up feeling scattered and less productive overall.
So you're saying if we have that GPS set in our brains from the get-go, it's a smoother ride.
Exactly. You know where you're going.
Now, speaking of planning, Jake and Emma also talk about this technique called time blocking. Have you ever tried time blocking?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I have to say, when I first tried it, I felt like I was getting so much more done. It was like I suddenly had superpowers.
Yeah, it's a game changer for sure.
So for people who might not be familiar with time blocking, can you just give us a quick rundown of how it works?
Sure. So basically, it's all about allocating specific blocks of time for different tasks throughout your day.
So like literally blocking it off in your calendar.
Exactly. And you can use a physical calendar, a planner, an app, whatever works best for you. But the key is to schedule these blocks in advance and then treat them like they're important appointments.
I love that because it really helps you prioritize. Because you're making that commitment to yourself to work on that specific task during that time.
Right. And it helps prevent you from getting sidetracked.
Okay, so we've talked about setting intentions. We've talked about time blocking. Now let's talk about our physical environment. Jake and Emma really stress the importance of creating a distraction-free workspace. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I completely agree. There's actually research that shows how clutter can negatively affect our cognitive performance.
It's so true. Like when my desk is a mess, my mind feels like a mess.
Yeah, it's like your brain gets overloaded by all that visual stimuli.
It's almost like my thoughts can't find a clear path through the clutter.
And then on top of that, you have noise distractions as well.
Oh my gosh, the noise. You know, I'm someone who's really sensitive to noise, so I have to have a quiet space to work.
I hear you.
My noise-canceling headphones are like my lifeline.
Oh, yeah, those are essential.
I've had so many times where I'm trying to focus and there's construction going on outside or my neighbors are being loud, and those headphones just like save the day.
Yeah, they create that little bubble of focus.
Exactly. So creating that physical space that's conducive to focus is so important. But let's be honest, sometimes the biggest distractions we face aren't external. They're the ones that we carry around with us in our pockets every day.
You're talking about our phones, right?
Our phones, yeah, they're incredibly useful tools, but they can also be incredibly distracting.
It's like they're designed to hijack our attention.
And Jake and Emma talk about turning off those non-essential notifications, which I have to say is a total game changer.
It makes a huge difference.
It's like every ping and buzz is this little thief stealing away our focus.
And from a neuroscience perspective, it actually makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Because every time you get a notification, it triggers this dopamine release in your brain.
No, so it's like we're getting these little rewards for getting distracted.
Exactly. It's activating your reward system.
So we crave more and more.
Exactly. It becomes this habit-forming loop.
So we're basically training ourselves to get distracted.
In a way, yes.
So let me ask you a question, dear listener. Be honest with yourself. How much time do you actually lose to scrolling through social media or checking emails when you could be focusing on something important?
It's a good question to reflect on.
Because I think once you start becoming aware of how much time you're actually wasting
Mm.
on these distractions, it can be really eye-opening.
It's the first step to taking back control.
And speaking of taking back control, Jake and Emma talk about using app blockers, which are these tools that can block specific websites or apps during certain hours.
Yeah, they're like digital boundaries.
Exactly. And I've found them to be super helpful, especially when I'm working on a project that requires a lot of focus.
It's like giving yourself a little digital detox.
Now, are you ready to talk about one of my favorite techniques?
Hit me with it.
The Pomodoro Technique.
Oh, a classic.
It's so simple, but so effective. Can you give us a rundown of how it works?
Sure. So the basic idea is you set a timer for 25 minutes of focused work, followed by a 5-minute break.
And you just repeat that cycle throughout the day.
Exactly. And there's actually a lot of science behind why this works so well. Our brains naturally go through these cycles of activity and rest, called ultradian rhythms.
So we're working with our natural rhythms instead of against them.
Precisely. And those short breaks allow your brain to recharge, so you can come back even more focused for the next round.
It's like sprinting for your brain, right?
Exactly.
I challenge you to try the Pomodoro Technique just once. I think you'll be surprised at how much you can accomplish in those 25-minute bursts.
I second that.
Now let's switch gears a bit and talk about mindfulness, which Jake and Emma also touch on in their book. I have to admit, when I first heard about mindfulness for focus, I was a little skeptical. I thought, isn't that a bit,
Yeah.
but woo-woo.
I get that it might sound a little out there,
Yeah.
but think about it. How often are you trying to work, and your mind is racing with a million thoughts?
Oh my gosh, all the time. I like my to-do list and that email I need to send and what I'm going to have for dinner.
Exactly. It's like having a million tabs open in your brain.
A million tabs open, that's a perfect way to describe it.
And mindfulness helps us to kind of close those extra tabs and bring your attention back to the present moment.
So it's not about emptying our minds completely.
No, it's about choosing what we focus on.
Okay, that makes sense.
And there are so many simple mindfulness practices that you can incorporate into your workday.
Like, what are some examples?
Well, even something as basic as taking a few deep breaths can make a world of difference.
Take a moment with me right now, dear listener. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and hold it for a few seconds, and slowly exhale. Can you feel how even just that 1 minute of mindful breathing can shift your focus and calm your mind?
It's amazing how powerful our breath can be.
And finally, we come to Jake and Emma's last tip, finding an accountability partner.
This is a great one.
Why do you think that's so effective?
Well, we're social creatures by nature, and having someone to share our goals and progress with can be incredibly motivating.
It's like having your own personal cheerleader, but one who will also call you out if you're slacking.
Exactly, and there's a psychological component at play here as well. When we make a commitment to someone else,
Yeah.
we're much more likely to follow through.
So think about it, dear listener, who in your life could be a good accountability partner. Maybe a colleague, a friend, even a family member. Someone who supports your goals and will help you stay on track.
And who you can in turn support on their journey as well.
It's a win-win. Well, this has been such a great discussion so far. So many valuable nuggets of wisdom from Jake and Emma.
It's just the tip of the iceberg.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
Exactly. We've laid the groundwork, but there's so much more to explore.
So stay tuned for part 2, where we'll go even deeper into the world of focus and discover even more strategies for taming those pesky distractions.
We'll be right back after a short break.
Welcome back to our deep dive all about focus.
I hope everyone had a chance to take a few deep breaths.
Exactly. Got to practice what we preach, right?
Absolutely.
So before the break, we were talking about the power of having an accountability partner to help you stay on track with your goals.
Yeah, someone to keep you motivated and hold you accountable.
Exactly. Now let's switch gears a bit and talk about something that might surprise you. Did you know there's a specific brainwave state associated with deep focus?
You mean flow state?
Yes, flow state.
That's a fascinating topic.
It's that magical feeling when you're completely absorbed in a task, right? Time just seems to disappear, and you're performing at your peak.
You're in the zone.
You're in this, exactly.
Everything just clicks.
Have you ever experienced that?
Oh, absolutely. Countless times.
It's such an amazing feeling.
It is. It's almost addictive.
It is. And you know what's interesting is that we often think of focus as being about sheer willpower.
Right, like forcing yourself to concentrate.
But there's actually a neurological component to it as well, right?
Absolutely. Our brains produce different types of brain waves,
Hmm.
depending on our level of alertness and activity.
So like different brain states for different tasks.
Exactly. And when we're in that flow state,
Mm.
our brains are primarily producing alpha waves,
Alpha waves. Okay.
which are associated with this really relaxed yet focused state of mind.
So it's not about forcing ourselves to focus. It's about creating the right conditions for our brains to enter that flow state.
Exactly. And there are certain things we can do to encourage our brains to produce those alpha waves.
So give us the secrets. What can we do?
Well, a lot of the strategies we've already talked about, like setting clear intentions, creating a distraction-free environment, practicing mindfulness, these all contribute to creating that ideal mental space for flow.
It's like we're building a foundation for focus brick by brick.
Exactly. And as you strengthen that foundation, you become more resilient to distractions and better equipped to tap into your full potential.
I love that analogy. Now let's talk about something that I think we can all relate to, and that's stress. Because stress and focus seem to be like on opposite ends of a seesaw.
Well, for sure, when stress goes up, focus goes down.
It's like they can't coexist.
And it makes sense if you think about it from an evolutionary perspective. When we're stressed, our brains go into that fight or flight mode.
Oh yeah, survival mode.
Exactly. And in that state, your brain is prioritizing immediate survival over complex tasks that require sustained attention.
So how can we manage stress to improve our focus then?
Well, there are lots of effective stress management techniques out there. Exercise is a great one.
Oh yeah, I'm a big believer in exercise for stress relief.
It releases endorphins, which have mood-boosting effects, and it helps clear your mind.
Whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed, a good workout always helps me reset.
Absolutely. Another powerful technique is mindfulness meditation. We talked about mindfulness earlier in terms of focus, but it's equally valuable for managing stress.
So it's like a 2-for-1 benefit.
Exactly, by bringing your attention to the present moment
Huh?
and observing your thoughts and feelings without judgment. You can create a sense of calm and clarity amidst the chaos.
It's like hitting the pause button on the stress cycle.
And of course, we can't forget about sleep.
Oh yeah, sleep is so important.
Sleep deprivation can wreak havoc on our cognitive function, including our ability to focus.
It's like trying to run a marathon on an empty stomach.
Exactly when we're sleep deprived, our brains are basically running on fumes.
So prioritizing sleep is crucial for both our mental and physical health.
Couldn't agree more.
Now let's dive into something that might seem a little counterintuitive. Embracing boredom.
Embracing boredom, huh?
We live in a world of constant stimulation.
24/7 entertainment, news, social media.
It's like we're always plugged in.
Always on the go.
But could this actually be hurting our ability to focus?
That's a really interesting question. And there's a growing body of research suggesting that our constant exposure to stimulation is actually rewiring our brains and making it harder for us to tolerate boredom and engage in deep, focused work.
So our attention spans are shrinking.
In a way, yes. We're becoming accustomed to this instant gratification and constant novelty.
But you're saying that the ability to tolerate boredom is actually crucial for focus.
It is, because think about it, those moments of boredom, when we're not constantly bombarded with stimulation, allow our minds to wander, to make connections, to
Right.
come up with new ideas.
So those seemingly unproductive moments of daydreaming might actually be fueling our creativity and problem-solving abilities.
Exactly. It's like giving your brain some space to breathe.
So instead of fearing boredom, we should start embracing it.
As an opportunity for our minds to recharge and explore.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation.
We've covered a lot of ground.
From the Zeigarnik effect to flow state to the importance of embracing boredom.
And we've still got more to come.
So stay tuned for part 3, where we'll wrap up our deep dive with some final thoughts and actionable takeaways to help you cultivate unshakable focus in a world of distractions. And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into the world of focus.
Ready to bring it all together?
I am. I feel like my brain is like a sponge right now, just soaked up all these incredible insights.
Me too. And it's not just about the knowledge, it's about taking action.
Exactly. So let's distill everything we've talked about into some key takeaways. Things that our listeners can actually start implementing in their own lives right away.
Okay, let's do it.
First and foremost, I think the biggest takeaway is that focus isn't just about willpower, right?
It's not just about trying harder.
It's about creating the right conditions for your brain to thrive.
It's like setting the stage for success.
Exactly. So if you want to be more focused, you need to start by creating an environment that supports focus.
Both internally and externally.
That's internally, that means setting those clear intentions for your day.
Giving your brain that roadmap we were talking about earlier.
Exactly. And externally, that means creating a distraction-free workspace.
Decluttering your physical surrounding.
Off those pesky notifications.
Maybe even using some app blockers.
And of course, we can't forget about the power of time blocking.
Scheduling dedicated blocks of time for specific tasks.
It really helps you stay on track and avoid getting sidetracked.
And don't forget about the Pomodoro Technique.
Those 25-minute work sprints followed by short breaks.
It's a game changer for productivity.
And we also talked about the importance of mindfulness.
Even just taking a few minutes each day for mindful breathing.
Or
And
meditation.
it can make a huge difference in your ability to stay present.
And focused.
And let's not forget about the power of social support.
Finding an accountability partner can really help you stay motivated.
And on track with your goals.
Absolutely. Now, as we wrap up this deep dive, here's a final thought I want to leave you with.
I'm all ears.
Focus is a skill. And like any skill, it can be cultivated and strengthened over time.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. So be patient with yourself, experiment with different techniques, and celebrate your progress along the way.
And remember, you're not alone in this.
There's a whole community of people out there who are also on this journey to cultivate greater focus.
We're all in this together.
And we'd love to hear from you. What resonated with you the most from this deep dive? What strategies are you excited to try?
Share your thoughts, experiences, questions.
We're always here to listen and learn from each other. That's it for this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, stay curious and stay focused.